Responding with integrity, the strength to rise above hurt. Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in every life when pain knocks, betrayal speaks, and wounds run deep. But how you respond in that moment defines who you truly are. Integrity is not just a moral badge, it is the anchor of purpose when storms of offense rage. The true test of your character is not how you treat those who honor you, but how you rise above those who try to harm you. In a world quick to react and slow to reflect, responding with integrity is the rare strength that separates leaders from the broken. Tonight, we confront a higher standard, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary for those called to greater things. You were not built to break under bitterness, you were born to rise. True integrity is not proven in comfort, but revealed in conflict. Integrity is one of those words often spoken about, but rarely tested until adversity comes. It's easy to appear upright when everything around you is calm, when relationships are healthy, when you're being celebrated, when your plans are working, and when people speak well of you. But that is not where integrity is proven. That is where it's performed. The real test of integrity comes when you're under pressure, when lies are spoken against you, when the people you trusted wound you, and when life takes a turn you never saw coming. It's in those moments, those dark, defining moments, where the light of who you really are either shines or fades. Integrity is not about image, it's about substance. It's not what people see when they look at you, it's what heaven records when no one is watching. You discover whether you truly walk in integrity not when you are surrounded by applause, but when you are surrounded by accusation. Not when you are encouraged, but when you are misunderstood. Not when you are embraced, but when you are betrayed. Every person who has ever done anything great has faced the furnace of conflict, and it is in that fire that integrity is refined. When you are pressed, what's inside you comes out. If anger, vengeance, and pride rise to the surface, then those things have been sitting in the soil of your soul all along. But if grace, patience, and unwavering values come forth, then integrity is alive and well in you. Let me tell you something. Conflict does not create your character, it reveals it. Conflict is the mirror God uses to show us where we really stand, not where we pretend to be. It is the X-ray that uncovers hidden fractures in our foundation. And many people don't pass this test because they confuse comfort with character. They think they are strong because they've never had to be. But when discomfort comes, when your rights are violated, when your name is dragged through the mud, when you have every reason to retaliate, and yet you choose to stand in truth, to speak in love, and to rise in humility, that is the power of true integrity. There is a reason kings, prophets, and pioneers throughout history were all tested by betrayal, rejection, and hardship, because purpose without integrity is dangerous. Influence without character is a disaster waiting to happen. And before God entrusts you with platforms, He proves you in private. He watches how you respond in hidden places before He reveals you in high places. Because if you cannot maintain your values under pressure, you will compromise them under praise. We live in a generation that has confused reaction with power. We think snapping back, exposing people, or clapping back on social media is strength. But real strength is measured in restraint. Real strength is the ability to be silent when falsely accused. It is the capacity to love when you're rejected. It is the decision to walk away with dignity instead of staying to win a fight that only steals your peace. Why? Because integrity knows that vindication doesn't come from proving your point. It comes from standing in your purpose. Integrity is not passive. It's not weak. It's fierce. It's bold. It says, even if I lose everything, I won't lose myself. It says, I will not trade my peace for petty battles. It says, I'm not afraid to take the high road even if it's lonelier. That's the language of people who are built for more, people who are kingdom-minded, people who understand that legacy matters more than likes and calling is greater than clout. When Joseph was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and falsely accused in Egypt, he didn't retaliate. He didn't curse God. He didn't let bitterness become his identity. He stayed faithful. He kept his integrity. And years later, the very ones who hurt him came back and had to bow before him, not because he fought his way to the top, but because integrity lifted him there. That's the pattern of divine promotion. You don't climb by cutting others down. You rise by standing tall in truth. There is a strength in silence. There is power in patience. There is victory in virtue. When you maintain your integrity in the face of hurt, you are not weak. You are wise. Because pain is temporary, but the consequences of compromise are lasting. And too many people have traded long-term purpose for short-term relief. They reacted instead of rising. They got even instead of growing. But you're not like them. You are being called higher. And to go higher, you must be deeper. Deeper in principle. Deeper in conviction. Deeper in integrity. So if you are in a season where conflict surrounds you, take heart. You are in the proving ground of greatness. Don't run from it. Don't curse it. Let it refine you. Let it reveal you. Let it strengthen what matters most, the unseen, unshakable core of who you are. Because when comfort fades and conflict rises, what remains is the real you. And if the real you is anchored in integrity, you will not only survive the storm, you will come out of it trusted, respected, and destined for something greater. You don't respond to pain with emotion. You respond with purpose. Pain is inevitable. Offense is unavoidable. At some point in your life, someone will mishandle you, misjudge you, misunderstand you, or even maliciously seek to harm you. But what determines the trajectory of your life is not the pain itself. It's your response to that pain. And here's the truth. You cannot afford to let emotion become your compass. Emotion may be real, but it is not always right. Pain wants a reaction, but purpose demands a response. You were never designed to live by impulse. You were born to live by intention. Too many destinies have been delayed. Too many callings have been compromised because people allowed their emotions to speak louder than their purpose. They allowed offense to steer their decisions. They let anger write their reply. They let bitterness build their worldview. But when you are called to something greater, you must learn this. Emotion is a servant, not a master. It is not the leader of your life. It is a signal, not a steering wheel. Yes, you will feel. Yes, it will hurt. But your feelings must submit to your future. When pain comes, your first instinct will often be to react, to lash out, to defend yourself, to strike back. But the higher road is not found in the immediate. It's found in the intentional. Every reaction rooted in raw emotion is a seed, and if you plant bitterness, you will harvest regret. But if you plant purpose, even in tears, you will reap destiny. That's why wise people don't just ask, "How do I feel?" They ask, "What does my future require of me right now?" Purpose is not passive, it is active. It interrupts your urge to retaliate and says, "Remember who you are." It pulls you out of the chaos and back into clarity. Purpose gives you a lens to interpret your pain. Without it, all you see is the offense. But with it, you start to see the opportunity. You start to ask, what is this trying to teach me? How can this grow me? What does this reveal about my character, my circle, or my capacity? Pain without purpose is suffering. But pain with purpose becomes training. Look at anyone who has achieved something lasting and you'll see a person who mastered their emotions in the middle of storms. Jesus, in his most painful moment, betrayed, beaten, abandoned, did not react with hate. He responded with purpose. He said, "Father, forgive them." Why? Because he understood that the cross was not just pain, it was purpose. And if you're going to fulfill your assignment, you must walk that same path. You must learn to see pain as a teacher, not just a tormentor. This is where maturity is measured. Children react emotionally. They throw tantrums, cry out of frustration, and seek revenge when hurt. But when you're grown in spirit, you understand that not every offense deserves your energy. Not every wound deserves a war. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is not respond in kind, but rise in purpose. Because you have too much on the line to be distracted by temporary battles. You don't have time to fight every critic, correct every lie, or chase every rumor. Your purpose is too expensive to pay for it with petty reactions. Hear this clearly. Responding with purpose doesn't mean you deny the pain. It means you refuse to be defined by it. It means you acknowledge the hurt, but you refuse to let it dictate your next step. Purpose says, "I see the offense, but I choose the outcome." Purpose says, "I've cried, but I won't collapse." Purpose says, "This wound will not become my identity. This betrayal will not steal my focus. This hurt will not hinder my hope." And that is where power is born, not in avoiding pain, but in transforming it. Purpose turns wounds into wisdom. It turns offense into oil. It turns heartbreak into harvest. But only if you respond to it the right way. You see, the enemy's strategy is not just to hurt you. It's to pull you out of alignment with your assignment. If he can get you emotional, he can get you irrational. If he can get you offended, he can get you distracted. If he can get you to react, he can get you off track. But you are not called to live from a place of reaction. You are called to respond with the wisdom of heaven. You carry something too valuable to let emotion corrupt it. There are people connected to your obedience. There are lives tied to your healing. There is legacy riding on your response. So don't waste your energy trying to prove a point. Channel that energy into fulfilling your purpose. Let the pain sharpen your focus. Let it build your resilience. Let it push you deeper into who you were created to be. Because the truth is this. Emotional responses will give you temporary satisfaction, but purposeful responses will give you eternal fruit. And every time you choose purpose over pain, you are sowing into something far greater than the moment. You are building character, you are gaining wisdom, and you are qualifying yourself for the next level of destiny. So the next time pain comes knocking, and it will, pause before you react, breathe, remember who you are. Remember where you're going, and ask yourself the question that defines the difference between reaction and greatness. What does my purpose require of me right now? Your reaction to hurt determines your position in destiny. Destiny is not decided in the moments of celebration. It is forged in the moments of pain. The crossroads of hurt is where many people either rise into the fullness of their calling or shrink back into cycles of bitterness and defeat. What you do with pain is not just personal. It's prophetic, because every wound comes with a choice. Will I let this break me, or will I let it build me? Will I be ruled by what was done to me, or will I rise because of what is within me? Your reaction to hurt is not just emotional, it is directional. It sets the course of your life. There are some things that don't look like turning points when they happen, but in hindsight, they mark the line between stagnation and elevation. That betrayal wasn't just an offense, it was a divine opportunity to choose maturity. That rejection wasn't just a wound, it was a test to see if you were ready for what's next. How you respond when people mishandle you often determines whether heaven can entrust you with more. Because promotion in the kingdom is not given to the gifted, it is entrusted to the proven. There's a reason hurt is part of every significant transition. Before Joseph was positioned in the palace, he had to endure the betrayal of his brothers, the lies of Potiphar's wife, and the forgotten promise of the cupbearer. Those wounds weren't detours, they were qualifiers. Because destiny can't rest on unstable emotions. It rests on a person who has been wounded but still chooses to walk in wisdom. It rests on someone who has been hurt but still chooses holiness over hatred. You don't step into destiny just because you dream. You step into it because you've endured. You see, hurt has a voice. It whispers to your soul that you have the right to hate. It tells you that revenge is justified. It suggests that shutting down, withdrawing, or becoming cold is the only way to survive. But here's the truth. Every time you yield to that voice, you delay your own future. Destiny requires wholeness. Not perfection, but healing. And healing cannot come while your hands are full of retaliation and resentment. That's why your reaction is so critical. The moment you are hurt, heaven is watching, not to condemn you, but to see what flows from your spirit. Will you curse what God can use to shape you? Will you fight the very tool designed to refine you? Or will you take the pain, the betrayal, the disappointment, and place it on the altar not for revenge, but for redemption? Because everything that hurts you can be used to grow you, if your heart is postured for destiny. You cannot reach destiny and stay wounded, not because hurt disqualifies you, but because unresolved pain distorts your perspective. And when your view is shaped by wounds, you will sabotage blessings. You will misinterpret favor. You will reject divine connections. You will project old pain onto new people. That's why God doesn't just promote your gift. He heals your soul. Because your future is too important to be filtered through past trauma, so when you are hurt, and you will be, don't just ask, why did they do this to me? Ask, what is heaven trying to produce in me? Ask, what fruit can this pain birth? Because if you let it, hurt can teach you things comfort never will. It can expose pride. It can deepen your dependence on God. It can develop discernment. It can grow your compassion. The pain you're tempted to escape might be the very thing God is using to establish your authority. Think of David. Before he ever sat on a throne, he was hunted by Saul, rejected by those he served, and betrayed by those closest to him. But every reaction mattered. When Saul tried to kill him, David didn't strike back. He cut a piece of Saul's robe, but refused to kill the king, even though he had every reason to. That moment wasn't just about sparing Saul, it was about proving David's heart. David passed the test of pain, and because of that, he stepped into destiny with honor, humility, and divine approval. There are places in destiny you cannot reach until you've passed the test of how you handle pain. Not because God wants you to suffer, but because he wants to trust you. Hurt is not the enemy of destiny. Your reaction to it is. If you choose to live offended, you'll live beneath your potential. If you choose to stay angry, you'll stay stuck. But if you choose to heal, to forgive, to grow, then pain becomes a platform, not a prison. Your reaction to hurt is a statement of your readiness. It reveals whether your character is deep enough to sustain the weight of your calling. And if your response is marked by wisdom, restraint, and surrender, then you are not just surviving the wound. You are stepping closer to your assignment. You're showing heaven that you're not in this for vindication. You're in it for purpose. So today, make the decision. I will not let pain control me. I will not let hurt detour me. I will not let betrayal make me bitter. I choose to respond with vision. I choose to stay aligned with destiny, because my future is too great to be held hostage by the failures of others. My reaction is not a reflection of their actions. It is a reflection of my revelation. And I know who I am. I know where I'm going, and I will not give my pain the power to rewrite my purpose. When you rise above offense, you rise into authority. Offense is one of the most subtle and dangerous weapons of the enemy, not because it's loud, but because it's hidden. It doesn't always come in the form of open conflict or violent betrayal. Sometimes it's the quiet disappointment, the silent wound, the unspoken rejection. But make no mistake, offense is a trap. It is a spiritual snare designed to keep you small, stuck, and out of alignment with your assignment. And until you learn to rise above it, you will always live beneath your potential. You cannot walk in true spiritual authority while being held hostage by offense, because authority belongs to those who are free, not just externally, but internally. Offense binds the soul. It clouds judgment. It turns discernment into suspicion, love into bitterness, and vision into vengeance. But when you choose to rise above it, when you choose to forgive, to release, to move forward, that is the moment you begin to ascend. Not just emotionally, but spiritually. You rise into a higher dimension of leadership, maturity, and divine trust. We often think of authority as something we claim, something we declare, something we take. But in the kingdom of God, authority is not seized. It is inherited. It is entrusted. It is delegated by God to those whose hearts can carry the weight of it. And nothing reveals the capacity of your heart more than how you handle offense. Can you lead people who hurt you? Can you pray for people who lie about you? Can you keep walking in love when others weaponize your kindness? That's the test. That's the proving ground of authority. You don't get promoted because you're talented. You get promoted because you've passed the tests that exposed your character. Let's be clear, offense is inevitable. People will hurt you intentionally or unintentionally. They will speak against you. They will misunderstand you, but the offense is not the issue. It's your response to it that determines your level of authority. If you take the bait, if you become defensive, bitter, or vindictive, you shrink your spiritual stature. You stay small, emotionally reactive, and spiritually immature. But when you rise above it, when you absorb the pain and still choose to bless, when you have the power to curse but the grace to stay silent, that is when God says, I can trust you now. Look at the life of Jesus. He was constantly surrounded by offense. The religious leaders disrespected him. His own disciples misunderstood him. The very people he came to save ridiculed him, and yet not once did he retaliate. Not once did he get drawn into petty arguments or defend himself out of wounded pride. He stayed focused, he stayed pure, he stayed above it, and because of that, he operated in unmatched authority, authority over sickness, authority over storms, authority over demons. Why? Because offense had no power over him. He walked in such internal freedom that nothing external could bind him. The same principle applies to you. If you want to walk in true spiritual authority, authority that shifts atmospheres, breaks chains, and changes lives, you must guard your heart from offense. You must train your spirit to forgive quickly, to release often, and to bless those who curse you. Because offense is not just about what was done to you, it's about what it's doing in you. It's reshaping how you see people, how you trust, how you speak, how you lead, and the longer you hold on to it, the more it hardens your heart and clouds your vision. Many people pray for influence, for leadership, for elevation, but they don't realize that offense is one of the gates you must pass through to get there. You cannot carry authority with a bitter heart. You cannot lead from a place of unresolved pain, because authority flows through alignment, and alignment comes through humility. Rising above offense is not weakness. It's warfare. It is the warfare of self-control. It is the maturity to lay down your right to be angry for the sake of something greater. It is the strength to say, I will not let this offense define me, delay me, or destroy me. Joseph had every reason to be offended. His brothers betrayed him, Potiphar's wife lied about him, the cupbearer forgot him. His life was marked by injustice. But when he finally came face to face with his brothers, the very ones who started his pain, he didn't curse them. He didn't even bring up the past. He said, what you meant for evil, God meant for good. That's the voice of someone who rose above offense and stepped into authority. Joseph was not just second in command in Egypt. He was a ruler in spirit. He had authority because he didn't let bitterness become his identity. You see, you can't be a deliverer if you're still bleeding. You can't break chains for others while still being chained to your own pain. That's why God often allows offense to come before authority, because it reveals the condition of your heart. Will you become a prisoner of what happened to you, or will you become a steward of what God is producing in you? The choice is yours. The offense can either become a ceiling or a catalyst. It can lock you in or launch you forward. There's a reason the enemy works so hard to get you offended, because he knows offense will always interrupt your anointing. Offense disconnects you from the flow of grace. It shuts down revelation. It keeps you rehearsing pain instead of releasing power. But when you forgive, when you release, when you let God handle justice, and you keep your spirit clean, you become unstoppable. Heaven backs you, favor follows you, doors open. Why? Because you're no longer walking as a wounded soul. You're walking as a trusted vessel. So today, ask yourself, what offense am I still carrying? What conversation am I still rehearsing in my mind? Who am I still waiting for an apology from before I feel free? And more importantly, am I willing to let it go, not because they deserve it, but because I've decided that my destiny is more important than my grudge? When you rise above offense, you don't just become free. You become dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. Because now your spirit is clear, your ears are open, your heart is soft, and your authority is undeniable. You become a person God can use to build, to lead, to speak, and to shift nations, not because you've never been hurt, but because you chose healing over hatred. Integrity is not proven in comfort. It is proven in conflict. It's easy to appear whole when no one is testing you. It's easy to speak of faith, love, and honor when the atmosphere is peaceful, and everyone claps for your success. But that's not where true integrity is forged. Integrity is not a product of convenience. It is a decision made in the fires of pressure. It is not something that shows up when things go your way. It's something that shows up when everything is coming against you. The truth is, your character is not exposed in comfort. It is exposed in conflict. It is in the moments when you are misunderstood, attacked, betrayed, rejected, and misjudged that your integrity is tested and your destiny is determined. We must understand that integrity is not merely a moral concept. It is the foundation of divine trust. God does not elevate gifts. He elevates character. Gifts can fill a room, but only integrity can keep the room from collapsing. You may have talent, you may have charisma, you may have vision, but if you do not have integrity, you do not have a future. Why? Because authority, influence, and favor are weighty, and God will never pour his glory into a vessel with cracks. Cracks created by compromise, cracks created by offense, cracks created by decisions made in secret when no one is watching. You see, it's what you do in the shadows that determines how far you will go in the light. When conflict comes, when pressure rises, when people turn against you, this is where integrity stands alone. Will you stay honest when lying would protect your reputation? Will you stay faithful when your feelings tell you to run? Will you uphold what is right when compromise would be more profitable? These are not hypothetical questions. They are spiritual checkpoints. Because promotion in the kingdom comes after you pass the test of pressure, and you don't pass pressure with words, you pass it with decisions. The problem is, we often think integrity is about perfection. But true integrity is about alignment. It is about consistency between what you say, what you believe, and what you do, especially when no one is there to applaud it. Integrity says, even if it costs me comfort, I will choose character. Integrity says, even if no one ever sees this moment, I will do what's right. Integrity whispers when compromise screams. It stands when shortcuts tempt you. It endures when quitting feels justified. Conflict reveals who you really are. Not what you post, not what you preach, but what you practice. And nothing reveals the authenticity of your soul more than your conduct in crisis. If you can't be trusted with pressure, you can't be trusted with power. If your convictions shift every time you're criticized, you are not anchored. You are floating, but integrity anchors you. It makes you immovable when storms rise. It makes you trustworthy when others are unstable. It makes you consistent when others are reactionary. Let's consider the life of Daniel. He was a man of influence, but his authority didn't come from charisma. It came from conviction. When the decree was passed that no one could pray to any god except the king, Daniel didn't flinch. He didn't adjust his convictions to fit the culture. He didn't pray in secret to avoid persecution. He opened the windows and prayed as he had always done. That's integrity in conflict. He didn't change who he was to survive. He remained who he was and let God handle the outcome. And what happened? God preserved him in the lion's den and elevated him even higher in Babylon. Why? Because integrity invites divine intervention. When you stand for what's right, even in conflict, heaven fights for you. Integrity is not tested in the absence of temptation. It is tested in the middle of it. It's one thing to declare your commitment to purity, humility, or honesty when there's no cost. But what about when the pressure to compromise is intense? What about when your job, your status, your relationships, or your pride is on the line? Will you still choose truth over tactics? Will you still choose righteousness over recognition? That's where integrity lives. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it is deeply powerful. Because when you walk in integrity, you walk in alignment with heaven. You don't just represent God, you reflect him. Some of the greatest doors in life swing open after the greatest conflicts. But if you fail the integrity test in the hallway, you may never step into the room God prepared for you. And often the test isn't even about your public decisions. It's about your private thoughts. It's about what you meditate on, how you speak behind closed doors, how you handle resentment in silence. That's why the enemy attacks your integrity in the hidden places, because he knows if he can break you in secret, he doesn't need to expose you in public. But if you guard your soul in private, God will cover you in public. If you walk with purity in secret, God will trust you with power in the open. Every leader, every visionary, every person called by God will face this truth. There will be moments where doing the right thing will cost you. You will lose relationships. You will be misunderstood. You may be passed over. But what you gain in the spirit far outweighs what you lose in the natural. Because integrity builds legacy. Integrity births authority. Integrity attracts the favor that doesn't fade. When God sees a person who chooses principle over popularity, calling over comfort, and character over convenience, He mocks them. He says, there is someone I can trust with more. Don't let your integrity be circumstantial. Let it be foundational. Let it be the reason doors open, not the reason they close. Let it be the testimony that people remember, not just your talent, but your truth, not just your gift, but your grit. Because long after the crowd forgets your performance, they will remember how you made decisions when it mattered most. So when conflict comes, and it will, don't shrink, don't panic, don't compromise. Rise, stand firm, keep your word, hold your peace, protect your values, walk in truth, because that moment of testing is not just a battle, it's a bridge. It's the pathway to greater authority, greater trust, and greater reward. And while the world celebrates performance, heaven rewards integrity. In the end, it won't be your charisma that carries you. It will be your character. It won't be your platform that sustains you. It will be your principles. Because when everything else shakes, your integrity will anchor you. Integrity is not proven in the calm. It is proven in the crisis. It is not validated by ease. It is revealed by endurance. And if you pass the test, you will not only survive, you will rise. Not just in reputation, but in true spiritual authority, because you didn't just endure the fire, you maintained your form in it. And that's the kind of person God trusts with legacy.